moving on, we have our review for Ultraman Blazar episodes 14 and 15. Two very different episodes. One
Yes.
I felt really drove the plot forward. Not so much concentrating on the kaiju, but really drove the this plot of there's a traitor amongst us, something's
Yeah.
going on with the government type of thing. And the other
Yeah.
one's just very slice of life, goofy Ultraman. I feel
Yeah.
like
It's
this
the
series
the
has like almost like a tone problem where it's like some episodes are just way serious and other ones are just way goofy.
so I felt like they sucked this episode 15 in at like the perfect time because obviously episode 14, which we're gonna come first, like you said, is the serious episode. But the previous episodes 12, 13, and even 11 were all three of those, which we were the last three that we covered, I think, on our previous show. We did a 3 episode review. All of them were very serious in tone with this dark, heavy plot. So I feel like they were like, you know what, we're getting in there, we're getting into the nitty gritty. It's getting really dark and serious. Time to just like, all right, step back for a minute, give all that a break, and kind of lighten it up a little. And that's what they did with episode 15, which was a throwback episode too. But first, let's go into episode 14 where we last left off. Like you said, they're starting to connect the dots. That some of these kaiju attacks are all linked together. This alien invasion, they were all coming from the same galaxy cluster, and there were attacks dating years back that were just all connecting with the whole situation, and they felt like there was a leak, which is where Emmy comes into play. This episode really focused a lot on her. She's our undercover specialist. She's the one that's been going undercover throughout the series, always going in and getting some intel on the enemy or whether it be a sketchy corporation, and she's disguised as a secretary, something. So this time, she's kind of just been away, and nobody really knows what she's been up to. Uh, but she's been gathering intel. And on top of that, the episode starts off just with reports of this kaiju you see above down here, Deltandal just flying through the skies, causing chaos. Um, yeah, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so like one of the weird things about this, so they're like obviously they have to engage this kaiju who's flying all over the earth, super fast. They really can't track them very well,
At
and
Mach 9 speeds.
yeah, and they think that this is like another possible. They're not sure; it's not confirmed, but they're like, "Oh, is this another space kaiju that's coming in to attack us? Is this the next wave?" It ends up being not like it is a native kaiju,
Yeah, they found out it like hatched in like a mountain or something like
but
that.
obviously they dispatch Earth Garon. They're trying to track it down, and they just can't catch it.
Yeah. Earth Cameron only goes Mach 4 and this kaiju goes Mach 9, so they're just.
It's just completely outrun. So
Yeah.
the commander gets like all upset about them. All like he the head guy. He's like all like if you guys don't catch this, we're gonna disband Scarred. You guys are completely ineffective. And
Yeah,
it's just
and they've been getting this spiel since this whole dark arc started.
but it's
They just
getting more and more and more just kind of ridiculous too. Where
yeah,
it's just
it's
like
like
the argument doesn't even make sense.
yeah, they're like, "Oh, why should you retreat from an EMP? Like you weren't gonna sit there and let your Earth Garon get decommissioned in the battlefield and get stomped on. How come you couldn't keep up with a kaiju who's double the speed of Earth Garon's max speed? Like, what do you want them to do?
Yeah,
They don't. You didn't provide the money to provide the tech that could handle this. Yeah, sure, you got a high tech super mecha kaiju vehicle, but it's still not good enough.
yeah, it
So,
keeps getting
what do
out.
you want Scar to do?
So and it's like I guess I hope this all gets kind of sorted out soon. But I think we're gonna get the whole villain reveal, tell us the whole plan thing. But it's
Yeah,
just like this is the guy that put Scar together. Like, what's the motive?
Yeah,
Like, you could have just not had Earth be prepared for
yeah,
these kaiju.
yeah,
I'm just a little confused. Sometimes with some of the plot, but
yeah.
still a fun show. It's just this little villain inside man job. I really hope they start explaining some stuff soon.
Yeah. Like, so it's the commander, because we see he made a sketchy phone call talking about the wave. So I don't know who he called. I don't know if this is a test, which is why he's pushing them to be better. I don't know if this is like, is Earth prepared to defend it against an alien invader? Like, maybe he's like also like another Ultra host or something. I mean, I know the series finale's been out. We're way behind. I didn't hear anything about that, but maybe it's something like that. Emmy finds out in this episode, in her research and investigation, that there was this V99 project that involved Gento and her missing daughter, it turns out, which is why she's been this investigator. And he was the lead researcher on this project. And he went missing that day. Gento, we keep seeing that flashback of the Blazar vortex. That's when he went missing. And that's sort of where the dots start to begin connecting. And while all this is going on, Deltandal is still just flying through the sky. He's shed his skin now. They found that he shed his skin, which is where they're like, all right, yeah, he's a native kaiju. He's not from space. And it turns out that Emmy and the commander that's been giving him shit are like kind of close not relatives, but like family friends, which is why he's kind of letting her off for poking around too. So it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on with these connections? Is he behind it? What's he covering up? What does he know? But basically, we kind of get to the point where she's being told off by the commanders, stop digging. You're not going to find what you want. And if you dig any more, I can't help you and prevent you from getting in trouble or arrested. Then we kind of just get to our air battle. The Deltandal story is kind of just like sort of the subplot for this episode.
It's very
We don't even get a really good view of this kaiju, honestly.
No, this is the best picture I can find on the background, and it's like probably from like a frame of the show.
This kaiju got definitely the least spotlight. There's this whole air battle that like they figure out that it's been hiding in cumulus clouds, and they trap it, and they kind of just take it down rather quickly. Of course, Ultraman Blazar takes him down, but it's kind of like it's all Emmy this episode, and it's a lot of driving her story forward. And like I said, the Deltandal kind of was like, to me, the most underwhelming kaiju of this series so far. When it came to kaiju story this episode, I was just not into it. It was just more like driving the plot forward for the season.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I felt about it too. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for the episode. It's just kind of there. It drove the plot, and kind of on to the next one, honestly. Not my favorite episode of the series.
Yeah.
I really hope they do something cool with Earth Garon. I kind of really do, because it's kind of just like getting outclassed every episode.
Yeah, Earth Garon needs some upgrades, big time.
Yeah, I feel like they're always trying to upgrade it, and it's never like
it's never
you
enough.
never get that like you never get that Super Saiyan moment where it's like wow, this is the upgrade, and then you can get another villain to come along eventually and outclass it. That's fine, but it never gets to the point where it's enough.
Yeah, it's always like, oh, it would have been enough for that one way back when. Now it's like,
like do an episode where like something happens to Gento and Ultraman is not coming, And
Yeah.
like maybe like right as he's about to get there, Earth Garon takes care of it. Like something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll go on to episode 15. I really like this one. It was a fun episode. Um
It follows Gento's son. He's
yes.
on his way home from school. There's a bunch of kids, and they see this one loner kid hanging out down by like a creek, and he's like, "Oh, want to come to my secret base?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." So Gento's kid goes there, and he shows him all these drawings of kaiju, and he draws this kaiju Gavadon. Gento's son draws it, and Gento's just back at his apartment, and they're watching the news, and then next thing you know, there's Gavadon on the news, mysteriously showing up in the park, just wandering around, and the kid's like, "I drew that."
And it's
So
like
he
a
rushes.
little like rat
Yeah,
sized
at the
thing.
time, it's just like a little
Maybe like
rat-sized thing.
yeah, like maybe like a yeah, it's not very large.
Yeah, and the kids go down there, and they quickly catch Gavadon with butterfly nets, and it's like their little pet. It's like their best friend. They're like just chilling with Gavadon. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Then he like lands back on a piece of paper, goes away for the night. So the next day they're like, oh, let's get Gavin on again. So they draw him a little bit bigger, and now Gavin is probably about the size of a dolphin.
Yeah, and it's at this point we see back at the Scarred base that they're kind of just monitoring this weird cosmic radiation that's been hitting Earth. That's where you kind of get the hint that, oh, this cosmic radiation is what's causing Gavadon. So yeah, they're going around. They're having the best time of their lives once again with Gavadon. And now a bunch of other kids have seen Gavadon, and they're all just hanging out. And there's a point where there's a bunch of moms walking by, and they're just kind of standing in front of Gavadon. And the mom's like, "Oh, look at how nice these kids are, just hanging out together, standing nicely as we walk by." But it's just like a cutesy little episode where it's just like just kids playing with Gavin. They're like, "Oh, he's harmless," and I mean, you just look at him up there in the corner. He really is harmless. Um,
He is a legacy monster, but it
yeah,
really has nothing to do with that.
yeah,
He's just there as like a wink and a
yeah.
nod to old stuff. So they don't really even reference anything. Um, well, eventually Gavin gets bigger and bigger and eventually gets full kaiju size.
Yeah.
So he's taking up space in the city, and they're dropping
there.
air raids and like.
And it's funny because the bombs are literally because Gavadon's just this like gelatinous looking kaiju. The missiles are just like hitting Gavadon and just like flopping off.
Yeah, like a trampoline, like boom,
Yeah.
boom. They're just going all over the place.
And it's called, and the missiles are actually what's destroying the city, and it's not Gavadon.
Yeah, Gavin's just there.
And in this episode, we get one of the most. Well, before we get into that, Gento's son's defending Gavadon to his father, saying, "Listen, he's a harmless monster. We created him. We drew him. He's friendly. He doesn't mean any harm." Uh, and the whole time, Gento's there working with Scarred, and he sees his son with Gavadon and his friends. They're trying to just tell Gavadon, "Hey, just get out of the city. Go someplace safe. We don't want you to get hurt." And these missile strikes are coming, and he's like, "Oh crap! I better protect my kid." So he turns into Blazar, and we get, just when we thought the fishing rod in episode 2 was the craziest Blazar power, we see the most insane Blazar power, possibly one of the most insane Ultraman powers I've ever seen in an episode. Gento, as Ultraman Blazar, creates a Blazar claw machine and just like picks up Gavadon in the city and is like, "Boop, we're taking you to safety." And he takes Gavadon into space, and he becomes a constellation. And that's the end of Gavadon. They didn't kill Gavadon. Gento didn't have to kill him. He just claw machined him with some Blazar energy. Now, it's been a while since I saw the original Ultraman Gavadon episode. In that episode, I remember Gavadon was a drawing on a wall in one of the kids' rooms, and each day it would have more and more added to it until it finally became like a full out kaiju with legs, horns. So it didn't stay in this form the whole time like it did now in this Blazar episode. So it was a little bit of a different story. Similar story though, where it was a drawing brought to life. But there was another nice throwback episode. We had the Ultra Q throwback episode with Garamon, and now we have this one, Gavadon. So I'm curious to see if we have any other legacy monsters show up further into this series. But definitely a fun, lighthearted episode with the kids, and bringing it back to Ultraman's roots.
Yeah, no, definitely enjoyed it. Interested to see the next set of episodes. We'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, we're gonna be
and just
covering that soon on the next episode too. We gotta catch up, guys.
yeah, no, we're gonna try to knock these out real quick. But yeah, I guess